Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Arvind here, and today I have this guy right here. This is the Sony A6000, which is my trusty camera. So I'm just doing a video. This is not a paid review or not even a product review. I'm just going to share my thoughts of a time-lapse photographer. So that's it. You know, it's been 2 years. Sony A6300 is out, Sony A6500 is out, but still this guy keeps on rocking. The reason: budget options, pricing, versatility, and of course right now those two cameras are like a 4K video, but this is 1080p, but still this camera is fantastic. So for your reference, I just put some of my photos that I took exclusively on the Sony A6000, just as the what do I call that, a promo like that. Anyway, whatever, just for instance, just to show you what this camera can do. So let's jump into it, and let's see what are the advantages and disadvantages this camera has. So first of all, as a time-lapse photographer, for me the autofocusing system is not a big deal, because like 99% of time I'm going to shoot with manual focus. So even this camera has a blazing autofocus, it's okay, but still I rely on manual focus. So this camera has a great autofocus, of course, yes. If you're shooting weddings, stills, portraits, sports, whatever stuff, this camera's autofocus system is fantastic. And next thing is the megapixel. So this has a 24 megapixel CMOS sensor, APS-C CMOS sensor, and this is pretty much my first higher megapixel camera after switching to mirrorless systems, because when I was using the Nikon systems, I have the D90 and the D7000, which is like a 12 megapixel and a 16 megapixels. And also I have the camera which is recording right now is the Olympus OMD EM5 Mark II, which is like 16 megapixels, and for stills you can convert that to 40 megapixel with some sensor shift technology. That doesn't matter. Overall, this has a 24 megapixels. So whenever I'm zooming in and seeing the details and everything, I was just blown out by the quality. It was really great. And the next thing I really like about this was the size. Switching from the DSLRs to the mirrorless systems, I was really impressed with the size. I can just fit it in my jacket pocket and just take away this thing for anywhere else. And without the lens, it is much more smaller in size, so it just goes like, oops, okay, yeah. So that's one of the things is, and tilt swift LCD screen is a great deal when I'm shooting really low angle stuffs and all. I really need it, because when I was using the DSLRs, I have to lay down in the ground to shoot at low angle stuff and all these things is. And pretty much whatever the lens choices, maybe Sony has a range of lenses, but they are pricey also, but some of them are really affordable, like the 16 millimeter, like this guy right here, the f2.8, which is a pancake prime lens, really gorgeous, as well as the 55 to 210 millimeter. This is a telephoto lens for a budget option. You don't have to go for the 70 to 200 f4 or the 70 to 300 G lens, which is costlier compared to this. But in comparison with the image quality and the performance size, I think that 70 to 300 is much more great than this guy. But if you are into budget, I would highly recommend this. And I often get a lot of questions in Instagram whenever I'm shooting with this camera. A lot of people ask me how this camera performs compared to the Canon or Nikon, the professional lineup like the 7D or the 70D, somewhat like that. In my opinion, this camera just blows me off. And the downsides are like, the battery, as everyone says, the battery life doesn't come handy. Oh, my slideshow is finished. Just a minute. Just for, yeah, once again playing up. So the battery life goes like really low. In my opinion, as a time-lapse photographer, for me, a battery life is much more needed. You know, when I was shooting in somewhere in the tripod, I can't even, if the battery dies, I can't even, like changing the battery often, which leads to the camera shake, which can create a jerky time-lapse video. So I don't recommend that. But if you if you just get into practice with this camera, you can certainly control some options, which gives you really close to the DSLR battery lives. I can shoot pretty much like 900 shots with one single battery. uh, it's maybe you can say that, oh, you are lying, but to be honest, if you off the some sort of options in your menu systems, like turning on the camera to airplane mode, which controls which just offs the Wi-Fi and NFC function, you just gain some extra bit of battery life, as well as the LCD and the monitor, the viewfinder and the monitor. Sorry, the viewfinder and monitor, which has a sensor. You can even off that. So pretty much when I'm shooting time lapse, I just need this LCD screen to monitor my composition and all these things. So I always off the viewfinder in case if I'm shooting landscapes or time lapses. So uh, that way I gain much more of a battery. And also in the menu option, you can go and find the option called pre-AF. So what does that mean, pre-AF? Which is like when you're on the camera and point out in some random directions wherever, the camera automatically focuses the frame. So it also takes a little bit of process on your camera, so it just takes a bit of battery life. So I off that. That means if I just simply point out the camera in some directions, it's not going to focus. Once I press the shutter button or else a back button focus, it just focuses. Rather than that, it will just stay like unfocused. So it also creates a little bit of battery life. I used to off all these things is all the time. If I need to transfer some images to my mobile phone or my tablet through the Wi-Fi, at that time I will go and off the airplane mode so that I can use it, and then again I will do on the airplane mode in the camera. So every time make sure that so in time lapses, I just go off all these things, this manual focusing, so nothing's gonna work on the process. It's just gonna take pictures, that's it. I get like 900 shots for one single battery. So I just have two batteries with me, nothing more than that. I pretty much can get more than 1500 to 1600 shots without worrying. So that is one of the options. And another downside is that this camera has a lot of applications that could be supported. So I have the time-lapse app, which I bought it. In my opinion, Sony could have better done it, adding an inbuilt intervalometer in here, like my Olympus camera or my Nikon D7000 had it. So that is one of the downsides. I also have a third-party intervalometer, which could connect to the camera's micro USB port, and I can trigger the camera to fire the shots. So why I say that the time-lapse app sucks? Two reasons. One, you can specify you are allowed to shoot like 999 images, nothing more than that, even if you have a higher memory card. So like the 64 gigabytes or 128, you still shoot 999. That's it. Whenever I'm connecting the intervalometer, it's great. I can assure you that you can shoot infinity. So that infinity in the sense whether your memory card fills up or you voluntarily stop the time lapse, then only the camera will stop the time lapse. And the next thing, the application I hate about the application is you can't change your controls once you start your time lapse. Everything will be locked, including the shutter speeds, aperture, ISO. If you are using the electronic zoom lens like this 16 to 50 or the 18 to 105 f4, the zoom will also be locked. You can't zoom in or zoom out. Maybe you're not going to zoom in or zoom out when you're doing time lapses, but for me, when I'm doing time lapses, I used to shoot from morning to night or evening to night. I just show the transformation stuffs and all, and for those things is I need to manually adjust my exposure, or else I will do it through my intervalometer, like not my intervalometer, some external devices like the bulb ramping technique called. So what I do is, in my Olympus camera, it has an inbuilt intervalometer, and also I can shoot like, these are mirrorless cameras, so you don't have the mirror flickering and all these things. So I can confidently shoot at aperture priority in Olympus, because it will just transform the time lapse from morning to night or from the day to night stuff without flickering. Even Sony could do it, but in time lapse application, even if you choose the aperture mode, you can't, the camera won't change the shutter speed according to the aperture. So what does that is mean? If it was bright day and you're shooting at 1/100th of a second at f4, and it is getting dark, still the camera shoots at 1/100th of a second, and the complete time lapse will be blackout. So that is one of the frustrating thing. But if I'm using my intervalometer, I don't even go to the time-lapse app. I can directly shoot without the time-lapse app, and at that moment I can achieve that things is okay, that's great. But even I had that option, but Sony could have inbuilt that. The time-lapse app was great, with some presets also. That is fun. Actually, this camera is really fun to shoot with, rather than a professional setup. If you start to learn with this camera is an absolute gorgeous piece. So those are those downsides for me. Actually, those are the downsides in my opinion. And finally, I think weather sealing. The reason I say the weather sealing is that I can't control my laugh, because my Olympus camera has that weather sealing stuff, and this camera doesn't. The reason why I'm saying that is, when I'm shooting time lapses, I will be spending like pretty much 90% of the time in outdoors, maybe in a rainforest or at the top of a mountain, even in the streets. And you never know what Mother Nature has to offer you. So if it starts to rain, if I'm shooting with a Sony, I have to pack up, put in the camera bag, or else I have to stop the time lapse, take a plastic rain cover, have to protect this, and then once again start the time lapse. Definitely it's gonna take time, or I'm just gonna make a little bit of composition change while I'm taking off and putting in the tripod. But Olympus, I don't have to worry about it. So these are the little conspiracy things is that I hate. But as I say, I really love this camera a lot more than I hate it. So pretty much that's it, guys. If something is wrong in my thoughts or something, just comment below. I would love to hear from you, because I'm just starting to do these videos, just getting interested in doing a lot of YouTube videos for my personal stuff. And also don't forget to mention whether you like this kind of stuff, whether this kind of setup, because this is the first time I'm doing this kind of setup. So if you like this setup also, just let me know. I'll do the same for the next kind of videos, of course. And until then, Arvind signing off. Thank you. Oops, I forgot. Subscribe. Thank you.